Hi friends. So today we are going to talk a little bit about estimation and estimating products and how that can help us to be a little more efficient with our multiplying time. And I wanted to just start off by reminding you all of a wrap that you may or may not know about. And so I put it here for you. So if you wanted to write this down, you could pause it and you could write this down and have this in your notebook just to refer to. But find that place, underline that digit, move to the right and circle it. Get it? So if I were to be trying to round 116 to the nearest 10, I'm going to find that place. You hear that? Find that place. I'm going to find the tens place and I'm going to underline it. Move to the right and circle it. Get it? 0 to 4 in this circle, the line is going to stay the same. Line that they're referring to is this one. 5 to 9, add 1 is the game. So if it's 5 to 9 in this circle, I'm going to add one more number to the underlined number. So in this case, it is 5 to 9, so I'm going to add 1 to the 1 in the tens place to make it 120, because that's a 10 and that's the closest 10. Now it says numbers to the left stay the same. So my 100s place, 1 in the hundreds place is going to stay the same. Numbers to the right fly away. So circle a 0 is going to take its place. So the answer would be 120. Now this is review. You should have done this. We did this in 4th grade. About here now is that we're going to review rounding with whole numbers and decimals. And it goes right back to that same wrap. So if I were to round these numbers here, this is on your SAB page 149 if you need it. Round 42 to the nearest 10. I'm going to find that place, underline that digit. Here they also tell you here's 40 as a 10 and here's 50 as a 10. Which is it closer to? Well, 40, of course. But if you use the wrap, you look at the 2, 0 to 4, line stays the same, numbers to the right fly away. So the number would be 40. 42 rounded to the nearest 10 would be 40. Now, looking at 762, it wants us to round to the nearest 100. And in this illustration, we see 700 and 800. So if I were counting by 100s, I want to know where 762 is closer. But I also could underline it, circle that digit, all right, so on and so forth. It's closer to 800. Numbers to the right fly away. I need those two place values. Add 1 to the line. That would be 8. Now, how does this translate to decimals? It's the same thing, friends. So if I'm looking at the nearest 10th, okay, I'm going to find the 10th place, circle the digit to the right. If you notice here in this illustration, we have 9 tenths and 8 tenths. What is 86 hundredths closer to? Okay, I heard you say it. It would be 9 tenths. Now, you could have the 0 there. It doesn't change the value of the number, but it's not necessarily needed. Now, if I'm looking at 263 thousandths rounded to the nearest hundredth, I'm going to find the hundredths place. I'm going to circle the number to the right. Well, obviously, and I don't want this thousandth. I'm trying to get rid of this thousandths place because I want it to be to the nearest hundredth. So my nearest hundredth is going to be 26 hundredths. Now, if it helps you to see the zeros on the end here just to fill it all in, you can do that. It doesn't change the value of those numbers. So if we were rounding these to the nearest 10, 46 would be rounded to, I heard you say it, 50. Think of tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay, think of tens when it's asking you to round to the nearest 10. You have to have a 10 in its for the answer. So 71, if I'm rounding it to the nearest 10, would be 70. I heard somebody at home say it out loud. Nice job. Now, rounded to the nearest 100. So I still have to have a number in the hundreds. Think of hundreds. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and so on. So here, if I'm looking at my hundreds place and I'm looking to the number right, just to the right of it, the nearest 100 is going to be 200. Because I'm not going to add anything to the line. The line's going to stay the same. Now here, my 100 is 4, and my middle number is a 5. Oh, 5 to 9, add 1. That's the game. So this would be the nearest 100 is 500. Now I have to the nearest 10th. Same idea. Here's my 10th. That 7 is the 10th. I'm going to look to the right at the 3. The nearest 10th would be 7. If those of you who need to have that placeholder, 70 hundredths would be, but we don't. It wants to know the nearest 10th. So I would just do 7 tenths is your nearest 10th. Here is a tricky one. We have a 9 and a 1. So what would be the nearest 10th? 9. All right, nearest hundredth. Here we're dealing with thousandths. So I need to find my hundredth. That's at 3. Look to the left, right. My nearest hundredth here would be 53 hundredths. My nearest hundredth here would be 61 hundredths. So now I'm going to stretch your thinking a little bit. On this problem here, what is the greatest whole number that can be rounded to 30? So you're either going to round up to 30 or round down from 30. So what we want to know is the greatest whole number. What is the biggest whole number that you can get that's going to be rounded down to 30 when it's the nearest 10? Well, that would be 34 is the greatest number because the number to the right is going to force it to stay the same. So 31, 32, 33, and 34 are all going to be rounded to 30. Now what is the smallest number, what is the least number that can be rounded up to 30? Well, hopefully you're saying 25 because 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 would be rounded up to 30. So knowing those whole numbers, what is the greatest decimal in hundredths that can be rounded to 14 and 5 tenths? Well, just like the 34, we can do 14 and 54 hundredths because 54 hundredths, 53 hundredths, 52 hundredths, and 51 hundredths would all be rounded down to 14 and 5 tenths. And the smallest number that can be rounded up to 14 and 5 tenths would be 14 and 40, sorry, my writing's really bad tonight, 45, let me fix that, 45 hundredths, because 45 hundredths, 46 hundredths, 47 hundredths, 48 hundredths, and 49 hundredths would be rounded up to 14 and 5 tenths. So, how does this translate to all the multiplication we've been doing? So, you want to be able to get numbers. You can check to see if your work is close. So if you are working with, you see this wavy line right here, that means approximately. So when you're rounding things, that's what you're going to see. So first we're going to round to the nearest tens to try to find a way to, so we can do some mental multiplication in our head. So if I were doing that with 24 times 39, I would do 20 times 40, which is going to give me 800. Now my actual answer, 25 times 39, is 936. So my estimate isn't that great because I probably could have gotten a little closer had I rounded to like, oh, I don't know, 25. But 151, it would be, if I was going to estimate, 150. Usually tens and hundreds are easier to multiply in our head. Times 30, which is going to give me, because I can do 15 times 3 in my head, which is 4,500. Now if I actually do 151 times 32, I'm going to get 4,832, which is pretty close. You can kind of see that you're in the ballpark at least. Here I would round this to 7/10 times 2/10. I can do that in my head, so I know that's approximately 14 hundredths. So 74 hundredths times 2 would be 148 thousandths. So that's pretty close. 12. When you have the whole number, you want to round to the nearest whole number. So it would be this number, using the number on the right of the decimal to help you out. This would be 48. And your answer is 45. So what I'm hoping that you're starting to see is that something like this, 9 3/100ths times 6 9/100ths. If you were to see a problem like this with an answer of 623 7/100ths, this is not in the remotest way possible reasonable. Because just knowing 9 times, if we wanted to do 7 here, or even 9 times 6 is 54, but 9 times 7 is 63, it's not close. So you want to be able to understand that rounding a whole number to its largest place can sometimes give you just a ballpark. I know that rounding can be confusing. Don't let it stump you. We will talk a little bit more tomorrow.